Oi! Where are all them, Hexaorb lists at, eh? There's like none for set 10. There's like, it's hardly on YouTube. Hardly any of them. No? See none. Just none at all. Drats. If only there was like someone with like a really cool, really fucking cool hat, a really nice bushy mustache, and someone who owned a really fucking sick YouTube channel. That's me.
Hi everyone, my name is Adogs, and thank you all for coming to my channel. So today we'll be doing a Hexaorb Aquamarine deck profile. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So with Hexaorb Aquamarine, there are a few cards that have been taken out of the list and be added to the list. So cards that have been taken out was Wayne, Sorceress, and Forsaken Sorceress. They were the cards we pretty much used to run in the original list when we ran the old Hexaorb, but now with the new list, those have been cut for better, high quality cards. So we'll start off with the grade 3s and then work our way down to the grade 0s. So starting off with the grade 3s, we run Hexaorb Sorceress in the ride line. So the reason why we run this is because with Hexaorb Aquamarine, she doesn't double the power of the triggers until we hit Persona Ride. So because of that, I've still ran the original Hexaorb Sorceress in the ride line so that we still can create high powered columns if we go first or second. That's pretty much the main reason why we still run the original Hexaorb Sorceress, just so we can make some strong columns. Next we do run 4 Hexaorb Sorceress Aquamarine. So this is very powerful, especially in Persona Ride. So it has 3 skills. So the first skill is essentially that it counts as Hexaorb Sorceress, which is good. So then all the cards that require you to have Hexaorb Sorceress in its card name, it would work. Next we have its second skill was when you Persona Ride, the increase of your trigger power is increased by 10. So again, if, like, for example, if you hit like a crit, it'll be 20k power instead of 10. Fronts will give 20k power, about 20k power to the front row, and then etc. with heals or everything else. And then also gains an extra drive, and it doesn't cost a counterblast or a soul blast, so it's free. As long as you keep Persona Riding, you get the increase of the trigger power for free and an extra drive, so that's really strong. And then lastly, the third skill is when you drive check a trigger, you can soul blast 1 and stand a reguard. So now the ability to restand reguards is actually in the Vanguard's effect, which means we don't actually have to run as many reguards that allow us to stand other reguards. We can just solely rely on the Vanguard, which is really good, because it's definitely a problem that Hexaorb had before, where it would do multi-attacks, but you had to open reguards that would allow you to stand other reguards. Now that problem has been fixed. Next into, and then we do run one of the Gladius Gradale, as again, since this is a deck that wants to Persona Ride, we want to increase our chances of Persona Ride by as much as possible. That's probably one of the Sippy Cup, best way to put it. For the grade 2s, Pentagleam, it's part of the ride line. We run a full Quadracast, so we still run Quadracast in this deck, as we still want to prioritize having a strong early game, especially if we're going second. That is also a problem still with Hexaorb, that if you go second, you still need to put pressure on, so when you do get to grade 3, you kind of aren't playing catch up as much because you've pushed the opponent hard enough already. She also does generate soul, which is very good, as again, this list does use soul more than it does use counterblast. Next we do run for Octaray. Hexaorb again, just still a really solid card. It's a way to plus in this deck. Allows us to essentially stack the deck too, depending on what we see from our top 2 as well. We can also put cards back, so if it's essentially you can draw 2 and put triggers back as well, so increase our trigger count in the deck. So it's very, very solid. And then on our Persona Ride turns, it does have that water skill and it attacks against 5k, so definitely very solid, especially if you hit a trigger for Aquamarine. You can stand your Octray. Octray would be 45 at that stage, because it'd be 25 by itself already because you Persona Road, and then yeah, just hitting a trigger, it makes it much bigger. And then when it swings again, it gains an extra 5k because it's auto ability, so the maximum it can essentially hit, just with one trigger as an example, is 50k. So as you can see, it makes some massive numbers. Next we do run 3 of the Cycle Grade 2. The first skill is very nice, essentially being able to trade itself for a draw by discarding it, use all +1, put them on the deck, draw 1, so that's good. And then its second skill is when you have Persona Road, you can call it and counter +1, look at the top 2, add 1 to hand, put the other one on the top or bottom. So it's kind of like a slower Octray, doesn't gain power obviously, but it kind of helped Dex Fins like Octray as well, so that's nice. But again, obviously the first skill is really nice in it too, so it's just an easy discard pretty much, and it's very, very welcome in this deck. It helps us kind of maintain your hand as well. And then lastly we do run 4 the new grade 2, so its skill is when it attacks, if you have a Sorceress Vanguard that's standing, you can look at the top card of your deck and you can put it into the soul, you can put it on the soul and leave it on top. This is essentially another card manipulator, which is nice, and this can also be used on grade 2. So essentially we have Conjure Cast and the new grade 2, which act as really good aggression tools we can use straight on grade 2. Also give us Generate Soul and allow us to stack the deck, so that's very nice. And then when you do reveal a trigger, he does gain 5k, so essentially he hits magic number by himself. He's a good standalone attacker, especially if you don't have a trigger in there from Conjure Cast. You can just swing, with the Regard, swing with the Vanguard, give the trigger power to your the Regard, and be 25. So it's a nice magic number which requires the opponent to use more than a 15k to guard, so it's definitely very nice. The grade 1s, so the Ride Line, T-Quest, Sorceress, not going to go into that, we pretty much all know what it does by now. But I do run 2 Lala Reader, so the reason why I still run 2 Lala Reader in this build specifically is it does help with the original Hexaorb Sorceress, where you might want to still stand a Regard to get multi-attacks if go in second, and again obviously that standard Regard would be standing, would have trigger power from Hexaorb, so it still hit a big number, so that's nice. So you have essentially have 4 strong attacks. And then also because on our Aquamarine turns, if we manage to only hit 1 trigger, we can still use Lala Reader to stand another Regard, so you can still get those 5 attacks off every single turn. Because again, we want to prioritize of always having 5 attacks in this deck, especially when Persona riding, because we make massive numbers. So having Lala Reader is kind of like a fail-safe or a consistency boost for just our original grade 3 is very nice. So that's why we run 2 Lala Reader. Now with PGs, we run 1 Elemental Sanctitude as pretty much a free PG to use against Jet. We don't have to discard anything for it. And obviously with certain decks, like for example, if Loro becomes something or any kind of battle duel effects, we have a PG for that. So that's definitely nice. And we also run 3 normal PGs because, well, we don't want to die, I guess. And lastly, with the last grade 1, we have the Dragon Tree grade 1. So we pretty much use it for its second skill. So it's on the back of a Regard circle. When your other Regard is placed in the same column as it, you can counterblast on and draw a card. So as you can see on the list, the only cards that really use counterblast is Lala Reader, Hoctare, and the new grade 2. The Cycle grade 2, sorry. But the Cycle grade 2, it only uses counterblast on Persona Ride. So we do sometimes have that extra CB to actually use the grade 1, which again allows us to draw more cards so that we can still have a healthy hand. As essentially with this list now, because we can kind of accumulate hand with the Cycle grade 2, with Octarays, again the Cycle grade 2 on Persona Ride, and with the new with Aquamarine essentially being on Place King Triple Drive, we actually have quite a few ways of generating extra hand now. So we have a healthy amount of hand, and we have all that aggression to boot as well. Now, another thing which is really great about running for this card is that it is a body that will stick on board, so it acts as a great booster. So again, on our Persona Ride turns, if we wanted to, we could just say if an Octray in front of her, you could swing of Octray boosted by the grade 1, and that would be a 33k attack. So it's a magic number that would require the opponent to use more than just a front trigger to guard that. Or in scenarios where you're still on Aquamarine, you haven't found, just say, another Persona Ride target, and you still need to make sure that you can get the 5 attacks off and your attacks will actually hit. You can have, if you have these in the back, you can essentially make 18k columns, and then obviously when you reel a trigger from your Aquamarine, you can stand a reguard and give it that power. So it's kind of like another way to even just do pokes to make sure those attack hit. Because again, you want to make sure that you're still hitting magic numbers in this deck. You just want strong, solid numbers just every single turn. You can also use this in the early game as well if you have the extra counter blast. It's definitely devastating if you are the person going first and it's a grade 1, because essentially having a 10k in front of the 8k, that makes a 18k column, which makes a 15k to guard. But another thing to also do keep in mind as well is if you use the new grade 2 in the early game and you have that in front of the Dragon Tree grade 1, revealing a trigger, if you give the trigger power again to that reguard, or even if you don't give it to reguard, you just give the power to the other reguard that's not the new grade 2, you can essentially have a 20k body, and then you have a 23k body with the other side, as that new grade 2 does gain the 5k power. So you're hitting some strong numbers straight off the bat as well, which is really good. So that's why I run the Dragon Tree grade 1. And now with the zeros, we run the starter. We run 8 crits, as we're trying to close the game as quick as possible if we can as well. And because we are a deck that can manipulate our deck and pretty much go for a deck very quickly, we're definitely going to be hitting our crits a lot faster than a lot of other decks, which is really good. We run 3 fronts, as I said, because fronts are definitely strong in this deck, especially if you hit one on Aquamarine. We're making even beefier columns, a beefier front row, sorry, that's really, really strong. And then we run the 4 heals because we don't want to die. So that is the deck profile. I will be doing another video soon. That will be just showing how to essentially play the deck, what the deck can really do, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So if you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure to leave a like, and while you're down there, why not subscribe and hit the notification bell so that when I upload another video, you will be notified. Hey, dogs out. See ya. Oh, you gotta stop. I'm sorry, mate.